right, guys, awesome. What a good day. Now, today I've been wanting to do this for a while, and this is how I got started. This is how I learned. This was the very first guitar that I ever built. They're called an Uncle Crow style, and they are very, very easy to make. So, I'm going to show you my workbench here, and these are all the tools that you're going to need to build this guitar today. All right, so as you can see here, we've got a box. Very important. Now, if you want the box to open and close, you should try to get one with latches. So this one's got latches on it. You can also get a very common box like the Arturo Fuente. Those are very common boxes. And people don't ever pay more than $5 for a cigar box, because most of the time you can get them for free. If you go to any cigar shop, or I think even Total Wine and Gifts, you can get a cigar box for about $1 or $2. Like I said, don't ever pay more than $5. All right, let's move on. So, you're gonna need a drill. They just help out a lot. I got about 4 screws and a drill bit, some 80 grit sandpaper, some 120 grit sandpaper. Over here I got some wood glue and some super glue. Now, you can use one of these really cheap little things, you know, to drill your sound hole, or you can get a hole saw. One of those, or if you're going to be doing more, I'd recommend just picking one of those up. Go to Harbor Freight, pick one up. Now, then this right here, you just need, it's a very simple saw. It's a miter saw, and if you look over here is my miter box. That's going to help you out a lot. These are $10 at either Walmart or Harbor Freight. And a little rat tail file. You don't have to have this, but it helps. This bolt is gonna, you can have any kind of a bolt, you know. Let's see what's over here. This is a square, and these things really, really help out, especially if you're gonna be building a lot more guitars. I recommend getting one, but you don't have to have one for this build. You're gonna need a pencil. I got these tuning pegs at the thrift store off of a toy ukulele, but they rock, man. Check them out, they totally rock. You're going to need a drill bit for those, and we're going to tune to DAD. So I've got a 30, a 20, and a 14 gauge. Right around there is fine. You know, you don't have to have it. And if you want a nice stain, you can go get yourself some Old English, or you can actually use wood stain. All right, people, that table and our 1x2 stick right there, that's what we're going to use. You'll be able to play this thing, and it's going to be awesome. All right. First things first, we're going to have to cut the neck, and then we're going to put that on the box. Now, this piece of 1x2 is 36 inches long, and that is a great length. So let's measure out 30 inches right there, okay? And then we take our cool little straight edge here, and we run the line. All right, so see this? We got a 36-inch piece of wood. Measure to 30 inches, draw a line, and then we're going to use this piece over here as well. Okay, so let's go to our miter box and cut this. Now, I got it locked into my miter box, and remember, these are only about $10 at Harbor Freight or Walmart. Now, I got it on its side, okay? Check it out. So it's on its side. I'm using the angle cut, and right there, that's our mark, okay? That's that 30-inch mark. So we're gonna start cutting. All right, awesome. So we got that cut. And we got a nice cross angle cut going right there. Very cool. Now, this last piece right here, we're gonna put that right back into the miter saw. And we wanna make it go this way and that way. So we're gonna put this right back in. See how it's right up against the edge there. Lock that down, and then we're gonna cut this piece as well. All right, so here we go. All right, cool, yep, check that out. That's exactly what we want. This piece is gonna go underneath the lid, and this piece is gonna go on top of the lid. All right, everybody, now that we've got our piece cut out, we're going to take our beveled end right here, this one, and we're going to put this on the box like that. Now, we want it to stick out just a little bit. So you see how it kind of comes to the edge of the box? That's pretty good. You know, this is all just eyeballing anyways. Now, we're gonna mark where the box ends on the neck, okay? So kind of give that a little bit of marking right there and right there. This is all just approximate, so don't worry about it. Turn it upside down and mark it on the back side and the underside as well. Okay, and then all the way around here. And that way you know where the box is gonna end. Now, we're gonna sand all of this down. So remember, when the neck is on top of the box, this is gonna be where you put your strings, okay? So this, from this mark all the way to the end, is gonna be your guitar neck. So we wanna really get this thing sanded down super smooth. Now the bottom side should try to be kind of rounded and very smooth. The top side, you don't want it to be too rounded because this is going to be your fretboard. You want it to be flat, okay? So remember, bottom side rounded, top side flat, but you want the edges to be smooth, all right? Let's get to sanding. All right, everybody, I have finished sanding pretty much here, and so where the neck is laying on top of the box, I left that pretty flat, okay? But I sanded the corners and made them nice. Now, from where we marked it, all the way up the neck, I really went to town on the edges. So, because this is where your hand is gonna be when you're performing and you're playing your instrument. I left the top flat, but I did give it a little bit of a rounded on the edge, just so that it's comfortable in your hand, and it'll be nice when you're playing. All right, what we're gonna do next is measure out the headstock. This is the butt of the guitar, this is the end, and then this is gonna be the head. This is the top where you put your tuning pegs. Now, what I want you guys to do is measure out from the very bottom all the way up here. I want you to measure out 25 inches. Remember, this is a 30-inch piece of board. Measure out 25 inches. Okay, now go one more 1/4 inch ahead. So 25 1/4. And draw a straight line at 25 1/4 inches. All right. Now all of this up here, this is now your headstock. So what we want to do is this is a pretty thick board, and my tuning pegs are barely gonna break the top of that. So I'm gonna get some sandpaper and I'm really gonna go to town on this section and try to flatten this down a bit. If you have a rasp or a file, you can use one of those too. All right, we'll be back. All right, people, we've finished sanding up the headstock. And as you can kind of see there on the camera, it takes a little bit of a dip now, which is really great. So once we put when we put our tuners in, now look at that, man. We got a really good amount of room right up at the top there. Okay, so check that out, man. Starting to look like a guitar neck. That's our headstock. Here's our neck. And this is gonna be the base, the body part that's gonna fit on top of the box. Look at that, man. This is awesome. Okay, remember that cool little piece we cut before? This is gonna be your support that's gonna go underneath the lid. So, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna sand it. All right, people, this thing is nice and sanded down now. It's looking pretty good. Now this is going to sandwich in between the lid and the neck. So this is gonna go on the bottom side and it's gonna sandwich on the lid to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Look at how pretty that looks. Isn't that great? All right, next step. Okay, before we do anything else, we're gonna have to put some really nice stain on this thing. Now, like I said, you could just go get this Old English from Walmart, or you can buy a can of stain. Stain is really cheap, man. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna use some Old English, and well, let's get it on there. So get yourself a cheesy old little rag or something, you know. Just put a whole bunch on there. And then just wipe it on and wipe it off, man. Look at that. Woo, that is pretty, isn't it? Okay, so after you've done staining this part and stained your other piece as well, get a cleaner part of the rag, like a different rag, you know, wipe your hands off, and then just go ahead and go back over it with a clean rag, and that'll dry it up so you can handle it and you can work with it some more. So next up, we're gonna drill our sound hole into the box itself while these are kind of getting a little bit dry. All right, now this one has a really nice insignia on it, so I want to keep that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the neck just under the insignia right there. So I set that down, then I'll get my hole saw. Now remember, you can, if you don't want to get one of these hole saws, they work great, but you can use a paddle drill as well, and these work just fine, yeah. But the hole saws cut a much cleaner hole. All right, so I am going to put one hole right about here on the top part, all right? So that looks about good to me, just eyeballing it here, you know? And I'm going to give it a little bit of a mark, and that's where I'm going to have my hole. So let's get my drill out and let's cut this sucker. Okay, so you want to open up the box to cut it. I usually like to, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Yeah, look at that, cool. All right, so what I like to do is just kind of set up the box on its side and then hold it at the top and then cut the hole in this way. All right, here we go. All right, and there it is. Okay, now we're gonna get our 120 grit sandpaper, and we're just gonna kind of wrap it around your finger, and then we're gonna go inside and we're gonna start to sand the hole out so it doesn't have any snags on you. You want it to be nice. Try not to scratch the lid like I just did. Okay, but keep it going, just keep sanding it out. And then go up on the inside and see how it's all frayed and everything in there. So just kind of get in there with the sandpaper. Now next, if you want to make the hole look really neat, you can actually take your Old English and you just put a little bit on your finger, and you can put that on the inside part of the hole, and it just makes the hole look a little bit nicer. And any of the scratches that you got on the outside, you can kind of rub this into the scratches. So it kind of makes the hole look a little bit nicer. Next, we're going to do some drilling. So what we want to do is we want to get, now remember, right where this bevel ends is going to be where it meets the body, okay? So right there, that's where that's going to stay, okay? So what we want to do is we want to line it up, then we want to take our support piece. I flip this over, okay? So now that the bevel is heading upwards, and this, we're going to put that right in there and basically see where this is going to be. So we want it to be kind of in the center of the whole box, and that looks pretty good, all right? So we're going to bring this over to a piece of scrap wood. Keep those nice and tight, and then we're going to drill 3 holes, okay? Now I've got a pretty thin bit on here, and these are the wood screws that I'm going to use. And if you can see that, the screw threads are on the outside of the bit. So that's how you know that this is a good bit to use these screws on. All right, so let's do one in the middle, and we're going to drill through all the pieces of wood. Let's do one on the side, and let's do one on the other side. All right, did it go through the whole thing? I did, all right. All right, cool. Okay, next up we're going to line up our holes with the box. Now this is where, this one's gonna be really crucial, okay? Because this is where the neck is gonna live on the box. Now I like my insignia up there. I got right here at the end, it's lined up with the edge of the box, so that's pretty good. And actually, look at that. There's a line right there that I can line this up and make sure that it's really, really straight. If it's not, if you don't have a line, you can grab your straight edge and you can put it here, and that'll make sure that it's straight with the box. Okay. So now that we've got that there, let's go ahead and drill a hole through the box. Here we go. And through the box. Through the box. Okay, now this step makes it a little bit easier for you to line everything up, all right? So I switched out the bit for a bit that's the same size as the screw that I'm using. And I'm taking the top part of the neck and I'm gonna make holes with a larger hole where the smaller holes were, okay? So this is for the top part. So let's drill these holes out. And we're gonna do that to the box lid as well. But do not do it to this bottom part. All right. Okay, now things are a little bit rough right now, so get your 120 grit sandpaper and just give a light sand on the top. Not a lot to take the stain off, but you know, just give it a little bit of a light sand. On the bottom, you can give it a little bit of a heavier sand because it doesn't really matter. Give that a little bit of a sand, a little sand there. All right, cool. Let's see what the inside looks like. Yep, it's a little rough. So just give it a little bit of a sand to take off those rough edges. All right, now we are going to attach the neck. Now what I want to do is just run a little bead of glue around where the holes are, and just kind of smear that in a bit. And do a little bit more all the way to the edge there. All right, and we're gonna get our bottom support beam piece as well. Now this one, go ahead and try to coat all of it to the edge. All right, cool. All right, now we're gonna flip it over and we're gonna turn, put our screws in. And we're going to put those into the box. All right, then we're going to take our bottom piece and we're going to line it up. And then screw it in. All right, cool. Looking good, looking good. Now another way you can do this, if you don't like the look of the screws on top, I kind of think it's cool, but you can do everything from the bottom instead and screw all the way through and then into this one, and then the surface will stay, you know, clean and everything. You don't have the screws looking out. But I kind of like the industrial look of screws on the top, so I like doing it that way, but you can do it whichever way you like. All right, next step, we're going to get our drill, put an even smaller bit on it, and we're gonna drill some diagonal holes. Okay, so basically, see how our diagonal cuts right there? We want to drill some holes that are just like that, all right? So I think it'd be easier to go from this angle. Kind of want to measure, see like, okay, yep, I'm gonna drill right there. Now I'm gonna drill one in the center, one about a 1/2 inch over this side, and one about a 1/2 inch over that side. So we're just eyeballing it here. And I'm gonna start with my center hole. Looks pretty good. Come over here to the edge. Drill another one. Looks pretty good. Come over here to this side. Drill another one. Okay, everybody, time to put the tuning pegs in. We're gonna go ahead and drill some holes for these. Now, remember, I just picked these up off of a ukulele, a toy ukulele that I got at the Goodwill for like $3. And they work really well. They're very nice tuning pegs, good machining, everything. Now remember that the machine part is gonna be on the bottom. So you don't want to end up putting this one on this side, otherwise it'll be turning in the wrong direction. So the machining goes on the bottom, and this is how we're going to line it up. So I'm going to have 2 on this side and 1 on this side, and you kind of get an eyeball idea of how you want them to go. Then what I usually do is I'll pick it up and I'll kind of measure. Looks about right about there, and then bam. Yep, so that one's gonna go there. This one's gonna come up here, and it looks like it's gonna be right about there. And then we got this one on this side that's gonna go there. So right about a little bit in. Okay, cool. Yep, looks pretty good. So these are my marks. All right, now I got a bit in my drill that's the same size as the tuning keys here. I got a piece of scrap wood underneath, and let's drill some holes. All right, let's make sure they fit. Pretty good, look at that, man. Yeah, awesome. Okay, people, so now that we've got our hole drilled, we'll give it a little sandpaper up at the top here. Make that look pretty nice. Flip it over, give it a little sanding. All right, cool. So let's flip it upside down. Put our tuning pegs in. Remember, machine heads go down. And that's how it's gonna look on the back side there. Let's get ourselves a really small drill bit. Okay, so I've got my smallest drill bit, and I'm just gonna basically hold these down and drill little tiny holes. Only as you basically just need a small pilot hole. Don't go too far because you don't want to go all the way through, all right? Okay, then take your screws that held them in when it was in the toy and just screw them on in. All right, cool. Got them all screwed in and looking pretty good. Gotta dig that hot pink, right? All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one. All right, people. Now we are going to put in the bridge and the nut. So this is a 24-inch scale. So we're going to get our tape measure. We're going to go 24 inches, okay? Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure it out. We're gonna have to find out where everything's gonna go. Okay, so up here, I've got 24 inches at that bevel, remember? So where we kind of came down just a little bit to make room for the tuning pegs. And then right here is 0, all right? So, let's get our pencil. And up here at the top, we're going to mark the 24 inches. Down here at the bottom, we're going to mark 0. And there is our scale. Grab the straight edge and mark a line at the bottom, and then mark a line at the top. All right, guys, up next, we're going to do, we're going to cut just a small notch in the bridge and also up at the nut area. So I got my saw out, got my straight edge, and I'm gonna put that right there. I'm gonna put the saw right on the line, and then I'm gonna use my straight edge. So I'm gonna hold my straight edge really steady, and then I'm gonna just saw down. See, just a little bit, just makes kind of a line. Then you're going to take your rat tail file and you're going to use that as a guide, and you're going to file a groove. It's pretty groovy. Yeah, look at that, it's kind of cool. All right, make sure it's the same all around. Okay, don't go too deep. Now get your bolt and set it down in there, and that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go just a little bit deeper. All right, looking good. Yeah, it's looking pretty cool. Now get your super glue and basically just drip super glue over the top. And that will run down the bolt. And it'll glue it in place. All right, guys, we're gonna do the nut now. Now, I went ahead and just cut my bolt in half. So I've got this for the top part, the other half for the bottom part. But I mean, you can use found objects. You can use old drill bits or keys. I've seen people use keys. Or you can just go to Home Depot and buy a 1/4-inch bolt and put it on there. So the same thing we did down there at the bottom, we're gonna do at the top. This time we're gonna get the super glue and we're just gonna drip a whole bunch of it over the top, let it come down and seal inside. Let it sit for about 3 to 5 minutes and it's like rock solid after that. All right, cool. All right, people. So we are going to be marking our frets, okay? Now what I'm doing here is this is just a Home Depot paint stir stick, and you know, it's very, very general. So this is a fretless guitar, but this is the markings that you're gonna wanna put on it, so that way you have a general major scale, okay? So you can take a nice little still of this if you like to. Here you go. Those are very, very general terms. So when you're using a scale, a slide guitar, it's all very general anyways. So we're gonna put this on here. We're gonna put it right up against the nut up at the top. We're gonna get our pencil and we're gonna make marks on every single one, going all the way down, all the way up to 15 inches, okay? So that's that. Gonna take our straight edge here, and then we're gonna make pencil lines on every single one that we've already done, okay? So on every single mark you made, make a nice strong pencil line. And then you can put a dot here, you can put a dot here to help you know where you're at. Then when you get down here to this little double one, you can put 2 dots, one there and one there, because that's the 12th fret. So this one right here at the 12-inch mark is the 12th fret. So if you look at it right there, see that? This is your 12th fret. So that means that from the open to the 12th fret is 1 octave. All right, guys, we're gonna put the strings on. So like I said, I got a 30 gauge, I got a 20 gauge, and I got a 14 gauge. Now, if this is plus or minus, it's okay. I just kind of had these left over, so, and we're gonna tune this to D, A, D. All right, man, so we're gonna go through that little hole we made in the back. Remember those holes we made in the back? This one's gonna go on the one. All right, everybody, before we put the strings up at the top here, we're gonna have to make a little string depressor, so that way the strings will stay low to the nut right up here, and they will be able to hold in place, okay? So we're gonna take our little screw eyes right here, these little guys, and we drill a hole right here. I've already drilled the hole, but you're gonna be using a tiny little bit like this, and you're just gonna drill a small hole right there and right there. And that's what it looks like. Then you're gonna take your little eye screws here, and you're gonna put those right into place. All right, there's one. All right, there's 2. So that's what it looks like. They're facing this way, okay? Then we're gonna have a little finishing nail, like one of these little guys. And that's just gonna slide right through the 2 of them, just like that. And the strings are gonna go underneath that. All right, let's see how she sounds. All right, everybody, we have finished the build, and here it is. The Uncle Crow style cigar box guitar. We've built it together, you and me. We did it as a team. Yeah! Now this thing is awesome. It's a lot fun to play. I mean, just check it out. So let's give it a test run, shall we? They're a lot of fun to play, man, and you could say that you built it yourself. They are so cool. Now, this is exactly how I got my start. This is the first style of guitar that I built, you know, every build you learn something new. Every build you take more risks. Every build you get a little more precise in your measurements and your drilling and your cutting. So don't be hard on yourself. Just do it. That's all you got to do. Get yourself a 1x2. Get yourself a cigar box. The tools that I had laid out in the beginning of the video, and you know what? You can do it, and I think it's really, really cool. So post your videos if you do decide to make one. Like and share this video so that other people can learn how to do it. And man, I'm Daniel O'Ryan. This is Lucky Pick Guitars, and I will see you guys later. Woo!